Hey guys, welcome back to another Chi Analytics tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you two ways that you can segment your qualitative data in Excel. So if you watched the last video, you'll remember that we talked about how you can manually code your qualitative data in Excel. And what that looks like is just reading through a comment like this. This one says, I like all these courses. And then assigning it to the topic that we think fits best. So in this case, that would be great course, which we denote with the number 1. And then if it doesn't fit into a topic, we would put it the number 0. Now, this data set isn't one that I manually tagged, but it's one that I pulled from our program Unigrams. Unigrams is a data analysis software that we have created here at Chi Analytics that helps you do all your data processing and tagging and helps you visualize it very, very quickly. So while it might take an analyst, say, a week to go through a large data set, Unigrams takes it about 6 seconds. And then when Unigrams spits that out, it won't actually know what these topics are. It'll just know that the comments are related. So this would be called like topic 1, topic 2, 3, so on, right? And then it's up to the analyst to use their domain knowledge to go through and figure out what each topic's about. So in this case, I've gone through and I've decided that this topic is about it being a great course. This one, they were talking about how they learned a lot. These are all comments that are in Spanish, which Unigrams can actually identify. It's pretty cool. And these are ones that would recommend to others. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is building off the last video, building off this information here, and we're going to be presenting it visually and segmenting it, in this case, by the course department. So all these student comments are associated with a particular course, right? We can see here, there's advanced writing courses, there's business writing courses, there's resume writing. I think that there's a writing for children course. Yeah, and there's a songwriting course as well. So this is basically every single writing course that this school offers. But all of them are going to fit into one of these 3 departments. And what I want to do is I want to be able to understand what are the differences in how students feel about the academic writing courses versus the creative writing courses or the technical writing courses. So that's what I'm going to segment this data on. But you could really segment your data on any other piece of data you collect, right? Let's say that we had the gender of the person who left this comment here. If we had that information, we could segment our data to see what are the differences between how male and female students feel about a particular course or a particular topic. Or we could go through and we could see, well, how do non-binary people feel about this specific topic or this specific course? And that kind of information can give you a much deeper understanding about how different groups of stakeholders feel about different issues. If you're approaching this from a business standpoint, you might want to segment your data by different product lines. So Apple might want to segment their data by iPhone 10 versus iPhone 11 to see what are the differences in how customers feel about each of those. The possibilities are really endless. It all comes down to what kind of data you asked for in your survey. So let's jump into it. I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can do this. The first is fairly simple. It's just using a pivot table to summarize this data. If you're familiar with Excel, this is something you've probably already done before. And you could probably skip that and move on to the next section. And in that section, I'm going to be talking about how you can use Excel's Power Query function to transform some of this data and get a more intuitive understanding of it. Unfortunately, the Power Query function isn't available on a Mac version of Excel. That's actually a problem I ran into trying to record this tutorial. So Mac users, unfortunately, you have to use a pivot table. Or if you guys know another way that Mac users can segment their data, feel free to let us know in the comments. We'd always like to know more about how we can do this. And I'd certainly like to know how I can do this kind of stuff on my own computer. So let's explore our data a little bit here. Over on the left, we have the writing course ID, which we already looked at a little bit. That's going to be all these different types of courses. And then we have the department, academic writing, creative writing, so on. In this column, we have the actual comment, the feedback that the student left. And then here we have the masked sentence. So this is something that Unigrams does. When Unigrams processes this data, it will go through and remove words that aren't essential to the core meaning of the sentence. Courses like I really enjoy, well, it kept enjoy, so it removed the suffix from there. So it got rid of the ed, so it's just enjoy course, which is the core meaning of what this person is trying to say. And then over here, we have all our different topics. So you'll see these are all our different topics with ones or zeros depending on if a comment matched or not. So let's say we want to summarize this. The first thing that we're going to need to do is select all of our data. So if your data is in a table format, which I recommend, and actually if you haven't done that, it's really easy. You just highlight all your information, go to insert, and you click table here. I've already done that. So up here, once you've done that, on the top left, you just want to go and click. And now you'll see that I've highlighted my entire table. All right, so once we've done that, we just go insert pivot table. We're going to click OK, and it's going to open us up a new workbook. So let's rename this so we can keep track of what we're up to. We'll call it pivot table 1. Okay, so now that we're here, we're going to want to segment our data. So remember, I'm segmenting my data by the course type. That's what that column was called. So I'm going to put that into rows. And then over here in values, I'm going to take all my different topics. So great course, learned a lot, gratitude, etc. We'll just put all of these here. And Excel will summarize all this for us in a pivot table. So let's actually zoom out a little bit so that we can see all of our data. Now this isn't super easy to understand. You can see that it's kind of all over the place. So what I like to do is I like to highlight it, and then I like to sort my data from largest to smallest. So we have a little bit of a ranking system there. Now, again, this isn't super intuitive to understand, right? It'd be better if we could do it visually, which is also fairly simple. You just go and you highlight your data. Let's make sure we highlight the whole chart. Or a table, rather. And then I'm going to insert a chart, and I'm going to insert a bar chart. There we go. Okay, so that's it. That's one fairly simple way of going through and visually displaying your topic data, right? So we can see in the technical writing department the things that they've done really well in. There's a lot of students saying it's a great course. There's a lot of students saying that they learned a lot and that it was good information. It was easy to understand. The same kind of goes for creative writing. And then over here in academic writing, I can see that you have a lot of great course and a lot of this guy here learned a lot. But it's kind of hard to see the differences here, right? And it might just be because less students took these courses. So one thing that we can do to see that a bit better is we can head up here and click the filter button, and we can choose to just see academic writing. So when we do that, Excel will filter our graph for us, and now we're just looking at this. And we can see just barely, if you mouse over it's a little easier. A few more students said that it was this series of courses was a sum of good information versus gratitude. And then we can see down here there's some other really small ones. So one thing that you could do is you could add the Let's see if I can do it here. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I got a little lost there. So if you click on this plus button, it'll bring up the chart elements, and what we can do is we can add data labels. So this is a really useful tool here if you want to see the differences, like these really minute differences here. And actually that's going to be really useful if we want to look at all of our data. We can go through and it'll tell us the differences here, right? So that's how you summarize this data with a pivot table. But as you can see here, it's a little jumbled. It's a little bit difficult to understand, you know? It would be better if I could see this bar right next to this bar. So how can we do that? Well, to do that, we're going to go through and use the Power Query function. So we're going to transform this data a little bit. Now, to use this function, your data is going to have to be in a table format. So go ahead and do that. And once you have, you just want to select it all like we did before, and then head up here to this Get and Transform section. I think in newer versions of Excel, this looks a little bit different, but all the same functions are there. We're going to get our data from a table. But Power Query can also get data from the web. It can get data from a text file. It can also pull data from Access, which is a database software, or from all these other sources. We don't have external data. So I'm going to get my data from a table. And that's going to be this table here. And once I do that, you'll see that this will open up the Power Query editor. And this comes with a whole ton of tools. We can do all sorts of stuff. We can split our columns. We can merge queries. There's some settings. But what we want to do is we want to go to the transform here. And I want to go and select all my topics. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so once we've done that, we want to click on this little button here, unpivot our columns. And once we click that, you'll see that that's changed our data a little bit. We have two new columns, attributes and values, and then we also have all these repeating entries. So what's happened here? Well, what it's done is it's gone through and it said, okay, so for this comment, it's repeating it all 7 times for all 7 of our topics. And then it's putting the 1 or 0 that belongs there. So remember, this comment was associated with learned a lot. So we'll see the 1 there. And then there's all these zeros, which means that that's not associated with that. So that's not really useful to us. So what we're going to do is go under values. We're going to deselect 0. Okay, and once we've done that, see, that looks a little bit better, right? Now we just have the comment and the associated topic. So that's really useful to us. And now we actually don't need this values column anymore. So I'm going to just right click and hit remove. And then I'm actually going to close this. I'll hit keep. And there we go. It's opened up a new workbook for me. So, it looks like it's changed my column widths. So here, just bear with me while I fix this. There's probably a faster way to do this, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So we're just going to go with this. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit easier on the eyes. And it's pretty useful too, right? So it's the same data that we had before, except now instead of showing all the topics, whether or not that comment was associated with it, we just have the comment and the associated topic. So that's really useful to us. Now we can do the same thing we did before, right? We go up here and select our data, and we can insert a pivot table, like so. And now what we want to do is we want to take the metric that we're sorting by, in this case course, and we're going to put that underneath filter. Okay, and then we're going to take this attributes column. Remember, these are our topics, and I'm going to put that under rows. So we see this, And then I'm also going to put it under values. So Excel will automatically give us the count of all the different times that, say, comments in Spanish came up in our entire data set. Now we're having the same problem that we did before, where this isn't really that organized. So that's really easy to fix. We'll just highlight this, do the same thing. I like to do from largest to smallest. There we go. So now this is summarized in a pivot table, and you can click filter, and we can easily click academic writing, and now this is just limited to the academic writing courses. So that's useful to us, but it's kind of hard on the eyes. So if we want to make this a little bit easier to understand, it's really easy. We can just highlight it, and we'll go to insert and do another bar chart. Get rid of this. Okay, and let's do data labels. There we go. That was a little bit faster. Okay, so now we have this, and this is the same as this, just in chart form. And you could click here and do that, and it'll limit it to just creative writing courses. And you'll see it actually reordered some of these comments, right? So let's look at that again. Let's go back to all. And you'll see there's in total, there's more comments that talk about it being a helpful course than there are comments in Spanish. But then in creative writing, there's actually more comments in Spanish than there are comments about it being a helpful course. Actually, I guess some of those comments in Spanish could say that it's a helpful course, but we don't necessarily know what those are. I don't speak Spanish, so. But one thing that we can do to make this a little bit easier, rather than clicking on this guy, is we can just insert a slicer. And this is going to be what I'm segmenting by. And there we go. Now that's a little bit easier to work with. And we kind of have this, this little dashboard here. So I can click on academic writing. I think if I hit unfilter, yeah, it goes back to all. Okay, so we can either click on the faculty that we want to see, say technical writing, or creative writing, or academic writing. And if we want to see all of them again, we can just click on this button here, clear filter, and that'll bring us back to the entire data set. So that's it. Those are two different ways that you can visually segment your data in Excel to give you a little bit more of a nuanced understanding about how different groups of stakeholders are feeling about a particular topic. Remember that you can segment by virtually any kind of data that you collect in your survey. There's really no limit to it. But I hope this video helped. If you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. It's just on our website. You can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. Like I said, it's free, it's short, it's 30 minutes, and in that we can sit down and have a chat and see what your data analysis needs are, and maybe what we can do to help there, find a solution. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.